Y'all, we are in here for another episode of Bleav in Kentucky on the Bleav Podcast Network, alongside UK's all-time leader in three-pointers made, Tony Dip. My name is Vinny Hardy. What's happening, TD?
Nothing much, V, man. I'm happy to be here. It's a nice, warm day in Atlanta in the 70s. And, I see a lot of people out. And I'm about 2 weeks away from getting my second vaccination. So I'm excited about that. And I do have a special guest, Jimmy Mahan from Jimmy's Kentucky Roadshow Shop in Lexington, Kentucky, one of my favorite people. And we just became friends, but it seemed like we've been friends for many, many years. He's a phenomenal guy, does a lot of philanthropy work in the Lexington community, has a unbelievable memorabilia shop. When I tell you, he did me such a great favor. He gave me one of the most important. Think about this. I don't even have any trading cards. So I do get some from Panini that I have to sign maybe once or twice a year. But he gave me a Hank Aaron. He gave me a Hank Aaron. I would love to get a Baby Ruth, but Hank Aaron and Mickey Mantle baseball card. And I was like, hold on, man. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, Jimmy, are you serious, man? Like, you gonna give me this? Like, I have no trading cards in my collection, but this is, when I tell you, man, I mean, I was like Jimmy and the kids when they opened up one of those trading card boxes, and it's like you have a one of a one, which is a special trading card. That's how I felt, man. You think about Hank Aaron and Mickey Mantle, and I'm so Jimmy and I just having a conversation. I'm like, yeah, Hank Aaron, I like Hank Aaron, Mickey Mantle, and man, about 30 minutes later, he comes out the back. I don't know, he went to a vault or somewhere. I don't know, some special place, and came out with this trading card. I was like a little kid. I was like, "Are you serious? Do I accept this? Do I tell Jimmy, hey man, I can't even take this?" But no, Jimmy's a special person. Jimmy, and you can kind of go in and let us know, let our listeners tell them about your memorabilia shop, where it's located, and what you've been doing.
Well, you get it now. That's people are like, why are you doing this in your life? Because I get to distribute that kind of joy. I mean, that's real. That is real. What else can somebody, to be able to do that all day, what else can somebody give Tony Depp that's going to make you freeze, right?
Yes.
And have that kind of pure, authentic joy, right? Everybody's got a hero. You're for a lot of people, especially in Kentucky. But then it's like, oh, so I was kind of digging and thinking, oh, I wonder if I have something that he might dig. And you said that, I knew exactly what to get. And card collectors will know the card. It's got Aaron, and it's manager's favorite. It's got Aaron and Mantle
right
on either side of the card, and it's a beauty. But
it is, man. It is.
It's awesome. I've got a little shop in Lexington, Kentucky. Kind of always a dream, a passion of mine, and it's got lots of cards, but it's also kind of half museum, half shop. And it's got a lot of Kentucky stuff from basketball and football, and actually got the old baseline from Rupp in the shop where you walk in and people come in and get pictures on all the time. But it's built more, yes, to make a living, but more to be that community hangout, to come and take it easy and chill and just tell stories and sit in the back, and kind of like a cross between like your barber shop or an old restaurant in town. You can just come in and kick it, and instead of eating food or getting your hair cut, you're opening cards and trading cards.
Hey, phenomenal, Vinny. You have to go check it out, man. It's a, and I think Jimmy said it best. It makes you feel at home. You can just go there, chill, watch TV, have nice. Hey, he also got us some nice pizza too. So he
right.
When I tell you, like, just really took care of me, made me feel at home. My family, my lady Nicole, Anthony, who has become a really good friend of Jimmy now. It's like, man, Mr. Jimmy sent me this. Let's call Mr. I'm like, listen, you can't call Mr. Jimmy. Only when we go to Kentucky can you. But anyway, they still stay in contact with one another. But just how he made him feel. When you can make kids feel a certain way, and I do a lot of stuff with kids, and even with Jimmy, just helping my my AAU program is giving our girls, helping us with uniforms, man. That meant a lot to our girls, and just what I've been doing, and just someone that became not only a friend, but just someone who sees the vision that I have as I started my TDBA basketball academy. You know, we started out with a couple of teams, and then we had a few teams, and you know, it's grown quite a bit. But when you have good friends, Rick Avar is another good friend. I have Mike Vine out of Louisville. So it's funny, my Kentucky connection. So it's when you think about how all this work out, and I have my people in Tennessee, but my people in Kentucky have been so good to me. They treated me well, but you know, I never would have thought that as an 18-year-old kid that when you sign a letter of intent and you go to a school, how many doors and how many opportunities will be there. And you don't know it as 18. And Vinny know this, I don't think Jimmy really knows this, was that, you know, I was probably about 3 or 4 games into my collegiate career. And I went and talked to Coach Pitino. I told him I'm transferring. I'm like, I'm not happy here. And so we sat down, we talked about it. And, you know, I said, well, at the end of the season, you know, I want to get my transcript. Actually, I wanted my transcript then so I can leave and have to set out for half a year. And then I still have 3 more years. And so he kind of refused my transcript. He was like, I'm not getting my transcript. I'm like, what do you mean you're not giving me my transcript? Like, man, it's, you know, I can leave if I want to. I just got to go to the financial aid department and get my transcript, you know? So anyway, we had a long discussion, but he had a vision, he had a plan. And also having Billy Donovan there. Billy Donovan spent so much time with me, just teaching me, you know, how to mature, work on my game, and, you know, the rest is history. But just staying in Kentucky has opened up so many doors, and I had to do, and I had to do right by my name and live the right way and make the right decisions. But, you know, and nothing's perfect that I've done in life other than, right, you know, try to help people out and, you know, be genuine as I can be. And when you come across Jimmy, you know, and you'll get a chance to meet him, it's I mean, just phenomenal. I mean, he's a phenomenal individual that means well for so many people.
Well, you're too kind. Talk about being humble. I just think that we share that similar vision where, you know, made in the image of God, and we're all men, and we've got different gifts and different talents, and what we have a responsibility to use them the right way. We have a responsibility to give back. I mean, what do I have that hasn't been received in a gift from God or a gift from people and the kindness of others? So when you get to a point where you can just return that at all times, which it's not, when I say get to a point, it's just in your head. It's not, oh, you got to get so much money, you got to get so much as far as you can in your job. It's in your head, say, I just need to give back as much as possible. And it doesn't always have to be money. It could be time. It could be relationships. It could be just sitting and listening with somebody. But those types of things, to me, you could see it. You've got that side of you that it was great when you were in the shop and just sat. You're supposed to be there an hour. We're there 4 hours, opening cards and talking to the people. I was like, man, this is my guy right here.
I appreciate it.
I'm still, look, is my reaction for everybody, because this will be up on YouTube and stuff. No, my reaction wasn't staged. We didn't talk about this before we started recording. TD says you gave him a Hank Aaron Mickey Mantle card. So my mom, I'm already over here just the mind blown emoji. I was as soon as you said that. So unbelievable. So Jimmy's Kentucky Roadshow, and everybody follow him on Twitter at Kentucky Cards. I was just reading the bio, Jimmy. It says nothing here is for sale or for trade. Am I reading that right?
Well, yes. At the shop, it's different. But
okay.
At the shop, that would be a very difficult way to run a business.
I was wondering, I'm like, what? How in the world is dude?
The funny thing is, I started like so much of this was an accident. In honesty, I probably ought to change that bio because I was just a collector.
I was like, wait a minute, man.
Man, everybody would hit me up every time I post a card and be like, "How much you want for that? How much you want for that?" And I was like, "Man, I've had it 20 minutes. I just got it. I ain't selling it." And now I have a shop, but I made that back when I didn't have a shop. It was just me being a big kid with my collection.
So Kentucky Roadshow shop.com at Kentucky Cards on Twitter. And I just kept reading that. And I'm like, am I reading this wrong? He got that all caps. nothing
It's for sale.
here is FS and FT. I'm like, now that's got to be for sale or for trade. That ain't free,
Right.
free throws. It's got to be. I mean, I'm like, this dude got a shot, but he ain't selling nothing or trading.
And I'm telling you, this market with cards too, I'm still gonna leave it up there because if I post, I could be like, oh, this was a dream. I was with Tony Delkey, signed this card. People can go, how much? How much? Like, man, I ain't selling that.
So tell us. So can you tell us why? Because it seemed like from what I'm like trading card, the value has gone up. You know, which is crazy. And during this pandemic, is that people are really buying more and more trading cards.
And the cool thing is, actually, it happened before the pandemic. I got to go on MSNBC actually once and talk about this, so I've done this my whole life. It's just always been my joy, right? It's been my hobby. And especially growing up in Kentucky, when you talk about the loyalty of Kentucky people and all that, basketball, as you well know, better than anybody, is different here, right? It's probably the greatest franchise of any collegiate sports. It's I would say Alabama football right there, right? But you got no pro teams. You don't have the nice side of the Appalachian Mountains. You don't have, the beaches. You don't, because I've lived in Carolina, I've lived in Virginia. They've got great programs and great traditions, great history, but not the franchise and the following and the loyalty that exists here. It's
right.
Different. But anyway, so of course that same loyalty, when I started collecting, kind of extended into basketball cards. But about the last 10 years, cards have been kind of steadily moving up as the NBA has gotten more and more popular, kind of surpassing baseball since the strike 94 and all of that, and the NBA especially. But about 18 months ago, before the pandemic, there were two articles, and it was in Forbes and Wall Street Journal. And they both said, trading cards, if you invested in the top S&P 500 stocks over the last decade, or you invested in trading cards over the last decade, the trading cards would have beat the S&P 500 by 153% on return on investment.
Wow.
So when those kind of articles are showing up, and I had seen it as a collector watching like LeBron affect the league and cards and Steph Curry and all that, when that hits financial magazines, well, financial guys may like cards, they love players, but they're looking for an asset class. They're looking for a return on investment, right? We can get Rick Abar back in the room for this kind of, like, that's the goal, right? So they, all of a sudden, these articles hit and people are even bumping into cards more. And then right after those articles, the pandemic hit. And now people have more time at home and they're missing sports and they can jump into this thing they've been hearing about. And it went from going like this to going like this, just exponentially. Where you've got, when we were kids, we're not much apart in age. The cards that were $1 million cards were like Honus Wagner and something that somebody found in a can in their backyard in 1908, right? And now you've got Giannis cards selling for 1.8 million. You've got cards of guys that haven't even won championships selling for $2, $3, $4 million.
Wow.
And because what I always tell people, and why I've done this business, which I've only been open 5 months, but there's always a rich guy with a hero.
True story.
And basketball's global. You know this. So if I pull a Yao Ming card that's a 1-of-1, and there's only one in the world, there's somebody in China that will buy that for a lot of money. And we ship cards from Lexington, Kentucky to China, Australia, Switzerland, all overseas all the time because it's so global.
Speaking of that one-of-one, you got a pretty interesting video clip of yourself opening a one-of-one. So tell us about that. I was watching that before the show started.
It's so crazy. So, and that really kind of launched a lot of things. But a year and a half ago, I was opening cards at my house. And some of my favorite cards, of course, are collegiate basketball cards. Because I was just a teacher back in the day. I couldn't afford any of the big stuff that I can now. And I was buying cards to get Kentucky cards. But last year, I'm opening a pack of cards. My wife is filming because by this time I've got this Instagram following. So my Instagram kind of blew up on accident. And it's Kentucky basketball cards is my Instagram. But I was filming it on Instagram. And I opened this pack of cards. And I see the back of this card, and it says Zion Williamson and R.J. Barrett. And on the back, at the very bottom, it says 1 of 1. And I start freaking out a little bit, and I turn it over, and it's autographed. And this is right in the peak of the Zion hype.
Wow.
And just went nuts. And then everybody watching went nuts. And all of a sudden, the chat starts moving like a stock ticker, and it's going crazy. And all of that. But it turned out to be a really cool story because I ended up selling it because obviously I'm not a Duke fan. But I sold it, and at the time I just left. I'd worked in a foster care group home in the mountains of North Carolina for about 4 or 5 years, and I sold it and gave 100% of it to that group home. So going back to kind of what we said, it's like, I've been blessed. I know that I'm in a great spot. I spent 4 or 5 years working with people that need every bit of help that they can have. And to take that moment that kind of went crazy online. I mean, they put it on CNN because my reaction was kind of goofy. And it's kind of this awesome, and then turn the spotlight, not for me, but put it on, okay, this group home in North Carolina, the Cross North School, these kids, this is focus on this. Let's give the money to that. That was a cool thing to do.
Tell us about Cross North, that you worked there and then you gave 100% of the sale to. Tell us about the school.
Man, I cannot sing the praises of this place. It's almost like, there are no orphanages in America anymore, and there are not that many group homes. But this place, if a child is taken from a bad situation in the family in the middle of the night, up anywhere kind of in that area, it's a place where the police can take and put that child. And so at the time before I worked there, I was working at a bank, doing great financially, all this stuff. And then I'm up in the mountains of North Carolina, and these people come and say, hell, you used to be a teacher. Did you, have you seen that school over there, that group home? I was like, I was just at a lunch. I was like, no, I like cool schools. Let's go look at it. We go over there, and it's all abused, abandoned, neglected children, kind of ages 3 months to 18. And they've got about 8 different cottages on campus where people will volunteer to be the parents and live there a week on, a week off. They got a school, and they got therapists, and they've got a coffee shop and a thrift store where all the kids learn a job and a trade. And it's unbelievable. And when I went over there and visited it, I couldn't get it out of my head. I was supposed to go home the next day. And my wife was up there, and they went back to the other side of North Carolina where we lived. And I was like, I don't think I'm supposed to go. And I stayed the night, and I met with the CEO the next day, and I walked around the school with him for 4 hours. Then I couldn't sleep. And I drove back home with 2 applications for my wife and I quit the job at the bank and started commuting for a while, 4 hours every week.
Wow.
To the school for a week, and then 4 hours home. And then we moved up there full time, and it was the most rewarding, awesome place. Wow. I cannot tell you. And everybody that works there, that is the hardest work, because you take a lot of L's in foster care, man. You take a lot of L's. It's some tough work, but those kids are special, and a bunch of them call our home here at Lexington home now, which is great.
Right.
A lot of them come to the shop, work at the shop, help me with cars. But that place and the work they do is pretty special in my life. So, man, to give some Duke player money away to them, that's easy. That's not a problem.
Tell us, I know you do a lot of philanthropy work outside of the United States. Can you talk about, some of the some of the kids and college students that you've been influencing and helping outside of the U.S.?
Well, I had the real joy and privilege to work for Camp Seagull. I was a director down there, and I was hiring people, and one of my hiring trips, I got to go to Bogota, Colombia, and all I knew about
my bucket list. I haven't been. I told you.
Oh, we're going.
Go. Let me know.
We are going.
I haven't been there.
And you're gonna have to not eat for about 2 weeks before you go because you're gonna pack it on. And in one of my hiring trips, I went down there and I met a bunch of people and just fell in love with Colombia. All I knew about Colombia was like Stallone kicking in the door and like blowing away drug dealers. Like I didn't know anything.
Pablo Escobar, we know about Pablo.
I knew about Pablo, and that was it. As Americans, and I'm like, man, am I going to be safe when I go down there? And I'm looking it up, and it's like the crime rate was the same as Indianapolis. I'm like, oh, I can survive Indianapolis. I can survive Bogota. But met families and people down there that I grew really close with, and it's interesting. So everything down there is about a third of the price it is here. Like a movie ticket's like $2. Like a Coke's like 40 cents. Like it's like a bottle Coke. Like it's very different. And I met some people that had gotten into programs and college programs they were telling me about, but they couldn't afford it because when they're coming up to America and they're coming over to different schools, not only is it expensive to pay for college anyway there or here, they're making a third of the wages and the revenue to even pay for anything outside of their country. So it was more like, okay, if I can just clear the barriers, if you get into the college and you get into the program, I'll clear the financial barriers and then you walk through. You got to make the grades. You got to work hard. You got to keep it up. But I will clear the financial barriers, the travel barriers, the transportation barriers, and you do the rest, because that shouldn't stop you. If you're smart enough, if you're a good enough soccer player, if you're skilled enough in a trade, the money shouldn't be the only thing stopping you. So I got you.
That is impressive. That's impressive. Going back to the shop, Jimmy's Kentucky Roadshow shop, you had some, and like I told you before we started recording, Tony sent me the screenshot of the address and everything. And I thought TD was there fixing to do an autograph signing or something like that, because Kentucky linebacker Jamin Davis was just there doing the autograph session. And now AJ Rose is coming up. Is it this Friday he's going to be there doing one?
Friday. And now I think Kelvin Joseph is coming too.
Okay. Yeah. So you just.
And we had PJ 3 days after he opened, PJ Washington came. And we had Nick Richards come. And then we're hoping to get some like quickly, I think, and Maxie are coming in the off season. And then hopefully with the new image and likeness rules, right? And Tony, you remember, I'm sure you did the barnstorming tours after you finished the Kentucky, and then did autograph signings before you left and went pro, where there's those gap months where you can make good money as a former Kentucky player. Well, now it's the whole time you're there, you can make money while you're playing starting next year. Wow. And you know, you're going to get approached by tons of different people. I'll pay you this to do signings. I'll pay you that to do signings. And I wanted to create a space where the player felt comfortable. Like, you can come here, you're going to be treated well. You're going to be treated right. And if you need to make some Christmas money, great, come here and do it. And you'll have plenty of opportunities, but just a good spot for players to do signings. Because I grew up in this neighborhood. I grew out riding my bike around here. And this is what I would have wanted in the neighborhood when I was a kid.
Yeah. So 6 to 8 for AJ, is that what it is? 6 to 8 for AJ Rose?
That's it.
Everybody listening, go see AJ this Friday. 6 to 8, $25 for tickets. So get in there and see him. And Jamin Davis is about to be a first round pick in the NFL draft, was just there. So
he was awesome. You want to talk about a great guy too? He was amazing. Like the kindest, nicest guy. His mom was there. Mom was awesome. She was military, everything. Yes, ma'am. No, sir. Jamie was on it with his mom there, I'm telling you. But he was super kind. And yeah, that's what we want, because you got other kids riding up and they're nervous. I mean, Jamin ain't small. Heck, I was nervous. Like, he can crack a rock with his abs. I was like, good God. But to just enable that connection. Now, I mean, that guy's got so many more fans here now after sitting and talking with the kids and doing that this week. It was amazing.
Also, just to, I know it was funny because he was wearing some, he's also a shoe collector too. So, which is, I kind of noticed, I was like, man, when you see nice shoes, and I love my shoes. He noticed he had the Travis Scott. I was like, oh man, those are nice right there. I'm like, he's just walking around casual with them on. Like, but when you're a shoe collector, your shoes. I'm like, hold on, man. He just ain't wearing no any shoes. Those are Travis Scott's that are hard to come by. Which kind of upsets me when I think about how the market is and when shoes come out, how quickly they go. Yeah. So just maybe 2 weeks ago, there was a pair of shoes I was trying to get, and I really just gave up on them. So of course they come out at 10 o'clock on Nike.com.
Right.
So why? So I'm up early Saturday morning. So I did my little chores, worked out, and 10 o'clock hits. It was already sold out at 10 o'clock. I was like, hold on. How can the shoes at 10 o'clock already be sold out? So I'm
the guys with the bots.
You know why? It's the dude that had the warehouse when his mom worked in sales. We know, and how his mama didn't know. Oh, you the president of American sales. All these sales are coming from where we live. Oh, all these sales are coming from my living room. Come on now.
I did a double take on that too. I was like, okay, you tell me mom didn't know. Come on.
We're getting a big bump in business from right here, and you don't know, Mom?
Mom was in on the heist, man. Yeah. You can't tell me Mom was not in on the heist.
Man.
Dude was pulling up with truck. Some of his photos had it like U-Hauls, like,
yeah.
I was like, what are you doing? Like, and you're already working for Nike. Let some of us else. We need to eat too a little here.
Yes.
He'd still be rolling if he hadn't have posted it. He's still in business if he hadn't put it on Instagram.
You know what? But you know what? He wanted the fame and the popularity. You know what I'm saying? Like he wanted everyone to know who he was instead of being the guy. The guy, as we say, sometimes it's okay to be under the radar. You can be on the radar doing a lot of good, and all the people who are flashy. And that's how I've always been. Like, I'm not a person. I'm discreet and I don't put my business out there. So even on social media, everyone is like, man, why don't you do this? I'm like, most of the time, I'm not even on social media. Right. Nicole, Mr. Jimmy, he'll tell you this. Nicole it does my social media, my lady. So she does a phenomenal job. And we'll talk about certain things and posting pictures. And, so I really try to keep it, with my teams and kid base. If I'm doing something, I'm out, it's great for exposure, give you a platform, but you won't see me doing what Paul Pierce did. You can you can bet the top dollar on that. Like, that won't be happening. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe 20 years ago in my I don't even think in my younger days, man. Like, I don't want anyone to know what I'm doing if I shouldn't be doing it. You know what I'm saying? It's like some secrets you got to take to the grave with you. But so many people, it's like, hey, I want to still feel important. I'm like, I'm cool not being important anymore. I'm like, I've had my important years and they are behind me. Now it's how can I help other people out?
Well, and that's what you're like, it's
you want to tell
you are still important, right? Like it's not that you're not important, it's you're just not displaying your importance with all the platforms. And honestly, when I got thrust into some of this, like I said, by accident on this social media stuff, because I just had a little account that was collecting and then it exploded, like with the Zion stuff and all that. And it's like, I'm not a flash. I think you know me pretty well now. Like, it's not, I don't want to go out and say, look what I'm doing. Like, that's not it. But then, having been an old high school teacher and old principal, I'll tell you where I struggle. I don't know if you struggle with this, but it's like, if you can inspire people by posting or showing something versus
showing them what they can get, showing off. Yeah, being a show off. There is a difference.
Right, there's a difference, but that's hard to walk, especially when people can't tell your context or your tone of voice on social media. Because I want to just be like, it's not about me, but like, come on, like, let's go do this together, y'all.
Right.
Come on. And so I kind of dance back and forth on it sometimes.
All I know, TD, you know, you want to post about telling everybody that you've been to Turkeys before. That's what. We've been to Turkeys. We've been to Turkeys before. He was so gone. Anyway, and now he gone from ESPN. So anyway, but TD, speaking of, you know, you had the signings at the shop and everything, Jimmy, TD, it made me want to ask you, are there any fan interactions or autograph sessions that stand out where you've had some kind of something funny, something crazy happen with a fan at a signing?
Good question.
You know, those little girls licked Devin Booker's car when he was at Kentucky. So I mean, TD,
Right?
Oh gosh, man.
might have had
You know,
something, TD.
I had to. This one I was at I was 19, so we had just finished. We went to the Final Four in April. Then, you know, of course, May rolled around and it's Derby season. So I remember going to the Derby, and it's so funny because I was in the infield and I never saw a horse. There was so much action going on. I'm like, man, I never saw the horse. I'm like, only race I knew about was the Derby, the last race or whatever, or the race for the Derby. And but I remember signing a couple some women body parts. As a 19-year-old kid, I was like, you sure you want me to sign that? She was like, yeah. And she told her boyfriend, give him the marker. I'm like, are you serious? Like,
the boyfriend had to give the marker.
He had to give the marker because she wanted a body part signed. I was like, man, this is kind of crazy. But, I was like, okay, I'll sign it. And, signing, I've signed diapers, and little onesies. So you never know what someone's going to come and want you to autograph. But, being at the Derby, I'd never forget. I was like, and it was so many people in the infield. When I tell you, it was like everyone knew who I was. Like, I didn't know how big Kentucky basketball was until I went to the Derby. Wow. And so I'm thinking, you in a whole nother city. I'm like, well, it's Louisville. Louisville, big Cardinal fan. No. They love Kentucky basketball. And I was like, because I was thinking about going, I was like, am I going to be safe leaving Lexington going to Louisville? But really, to me, when you come from Tennessee, you don't really know the Louisville, Lexington, is there a rivalry or not? So I'm like, okay, maybe there's a rivalry and I just don't know about it. But went to Louisville and I felt right at home. There was not me being threatened to feel like, okay, something's going to happen. I just felt like, man, they had so much love for us. So, just thinking back to being 19, being in Louisville, going to the Derby, just that and I think Jimmy said this best, when you don't have any professional team and you're like the only show in town and you are, the state school, I mean, everybody knows what you're doing, and that's what made it even harder for me this year as I watched the NCAA tournament and not seeing our beloved Cats part of the 64.
Mm-hmm. It stung. There's a really cool book about it, because it's funny. Like, my sister lives in Carolina. I can call her right now. She'll give me the starting five from last year, right? But there's this guy that's wrote a book. He was on the Sporting News, and I think he was actually following your team, Tony, and not from Kentucky, didn't grow up here, nothing like that. And he was like, this is different. Like, this is just different here. And he ended up writing a book about it, but it's not just about Kentucky. It's about Kentucky, Louisville, high school basketball, just basketball here, and how doesn't matter your race, your age, your gender. Like, you can strike up a conversation with an old lady or somebody on any part of town in any part of the state, and everybody just falls right in comfortable with each other. And it's true.
Right.
And it's not that way everywhere.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
That's cool.
For sure. Speaking of the Cats, real quick, I guess the biggest news would be, Devin Askew transferring. We we've seen a lot of good point guard play. It just didn't click for him. And honestly, man, Cal kind of walks on a thin line every year getting these lineups to click. From John Wall to Brandon Knight to Tyler Eulis to the Twins to Fox to Shea to Hagens, and then you have Askew just didn't quite work. You have Nolan Hickman coming in, probably going to be another point guard from the transfer portal coming in.
Davidson.
Vince might come back. You got Grady's already there, and maybe another one. Look, the writing was just kind of on the wall for Askew as far as, it's just, he wasn't going to see the court this coming season. So it's kind of.
Jimmy, so what's your take on that? So if being a Kentucky faithful, what do you have to say about, kids that are in the transfer portal? Because there's more kids. I think it's over 1,100 kids. And what's so crazy, right before we talk about Askew, like I talked to a kid yesterday that is in the transfer portal. And I think he goes to Seattle U, averages 24 assists, 5 rebounds. And, our first question I asked him, I said, why are you leaving? And he didn't kind of get into all the details. He said, well, he said it was because he wanted to play the NCAA tournament. He felt he was good enough to play high D1. And so I said, you're getting playing time. So you're giving up a scholarship to go somewhere where you might play, you might not, because if I recruit a kid for 2 or 3 years, I have to play that kid and, try to develop him, work with him. And although you're an asset, you can come in, I say, but you're going to give up a scholarship to go and chase something? I said, do you understand that Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, and I can give you a few more people that play mid-major basketball that have made over $200 or $300 million. They're
going back to Scottie Pippen and Rodman.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, seriously, if you can play, they're going to find you. So to leave playing, averaging 20 points, to go, I say, there ain't no guarantee you're going to go there and play. What if you get hurt? We don't know what could happen. So, but those are the kind of kids, Devin and Vinny, we've had many, many discussions about him, just sometimes guys, Kentucky can be too big for them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No.
So this kind of goes not just to basketball, but even going back to being a teacher and all this, but when you do that, are you running to something or are you running from something? Are you running from work or hard things that you just got to grow up? Kind of like I felt some of our kids here had to deal with this year in Kentucky, like maybe Fletcher, where they just had to go from that AAU, you're the best, you're the best, you're the best. So all of a sudden you're on a team where you're not the best, and
right.
You have to work a little harder and grow as a man. Are you running from that, or are you running to a better situation? And there's a big difference, I think. And I think that sometimes it's wise and it's smart to make that transfer the right way. Like if you're Joe Burrow, when he was in football at Ohio State, like he's not going to get the start ahead of Justin Fields, but going to LSU, he gets that chance and he's not outrunning the difficulty. Like it didn't, the math didn't work on where he was and Field was. He was never going to see that. But if you're transferring and leaving because you got to grow up as a player, but maybe more as a man, you're just going to keep running until you got to face it.
So it's kind of like, so what advice, let's say, because I think some of these kids, when it comes down to who they're having conversation with, and this is, I think one of his mentors put me on the phone, another friend that runs a basketball program. And it was just so ironic that before we even had a conversation with him, we was talking about this transfer portal. I said, so many kids, are able to stay, but also leave. And it's almost like like the feeling of being recruited all over again. Like, how that feels for a kid. Because I told him, Yeah, I mean, it's stroking an ego. And I told someone, so here's what, like, when I thought about it, when I committed to Kentucky, and it was driving my parents crazy. It wasn't so much kids, we love the attention. Oh, you know, so now with social media, you know, they talking about you. You can post things. Oh, I'm going to this school. This school sent me a letter. They have interest in me. So it's totally different for this generation. But for me, I just wanted to get it over with because my mom was like, I want them to stop calling my house.
Right. Right.
So I had a different kind of pressure. She was like, I'm tired of them coaches calling my house because at during that time, it was like in 91, we didn't have, well, there was call waiting, but my mom refused to get call waiting. So my mom would tie up the phone for hours talking to her sister, talking to her friends, and my brother finally had to convince her. They was like, Mom, you have to get call waiting. So we get call waiting, phone's ringing off the hook, right? So she had to click over. So she's clicking over, clicking her sister off, clicking all the coaches off. So it's driving her crazy. She's like, all of a sudden, will you please sign with someone? So I went to Kentucky. So my first visit was to, I think I went to Tennessee. Anthony Hardaway was my host. Unbelievable time with Penny. Then I go down to Arkansas, Corliss Williamson, Mike Anderson. My mom loved Nolan Richardson, had a good time with them dudes. But like you said earlier, it was something different about my visits to Kentucky. I went to Kentucky when we actually had Midnight Madness at Memorial Coliseum.
Oh, it's a wrap.
When I tell you, like, so when I get there, so we're staying at the lodge, which they torn the lodge down years ago. But I get on campus and I see all these people outside. I'm like, what are these people doing? So one of the players, maybe Henry Thomas, he was like, hey, you know, they're waiting for the game. I say, what game? You know, so I'm like, I'm thinking the game gonna be at like 3:00. They was like, no, it's called Midnight Madness. So I'm like, okay, midnight. Who plays ball at midnight? He was like, no. It's big tradition here. So coming from Tennessee, I never heard of Midnight Madness. Long story short, you know, as it was approaching 10:00, I'm like, man, it was like more and more people out there. So by time 12:01 hit, you know, I was already in the Coliseum by then, and I was looking through our weight room window, and I said, man, why are these people out at 12:00, 12 a.m., not p.m.? Why are they watching basketball? Practice. So I was like, I felt like, hey, I'm like, we talking about practice?
Right.
Thousand people watching practice. And when I left there, I remember telling, so Billy Donovan, so it was Roger Groves, Jared Prickett, Walter McCarty, Rodney Dent, and myself. And so when I got back, Billy was like, so they had 5 scholarships to offer. And I told Billy, I want to sign in the spring. And at this time, you know, I'm one of the top players in the country. I'm like top 10 players in the country. He was like, well, coach was like, he might not have a scholarship for you then. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, so imagine you telling one of the top players in the country that you're not going to have a scholarship for. So long story short, when I got back home, I called him back and I was like, okay, you know, I'm coming to Kentucky. And here's my mom. So my mom was like, you got to call the other coaches and tell them you're not coming to school. I'm like, what do you mean? She said, all these other coaches, Wade Houston, Larry Finch, rest RIP, Nolan Richardson. So it was a part of my maturing and growing up because I was like, Mom, I'm not calling them. I'm like, they already know I'm going.
She's That's like, the good parent making you say, like, you gotta do it the right way.
But here's the thing too, you never know what could happen because, you know,
totally.
Coaches, assistant coach, they remember that, you know, so probably maybe about 8 to 10 years ago, I was coaching at New Mexico State and ran into Coach Richardson. He's like, yeah, man, you got away from him. I let you get away. I was like, you know, but it was funny, but I was like, man, I said, I was so close to, I said, because if I didn't sign with Kentucky, my mom wanted me to go to Arkansas.
Right.
Yes.
And that team was stacked too.
They were.
Thurman, Williamson, McDaniel.
Yep. All them dudes, all them guys were there. And here's what's so funny about it.
You had all the wars with them.
We did. But, you know, of all the teams I played against, like Clint McDaniels, of course, Corliss and I, we were friends. Scotty Thurman, we still talk. Alex Dillard, I probably talked to about 6 or 7 of them dudes throughout the year. So we
Right.
not only became, it was a rivalry during the time. I went and had a good visit with them, but we always had respect for one another, so
Oh yeah.
we always stayed in contact. And it's so funny that I played against so many different teams, but Arkansas, I had a connection with the players, and some of it was that I spent a few days with them. We played the same style, and
Oh yeah.
Corliss and I, we actually played on the same. We played in Sacramento together.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
right.
Yes,
I
sir.
just remember going to some of those. I remember some of the wars that y'all had. That, of course, you got to experience it, but the vibe in some of those SEC tournament venues, like that one when y'all came back in overtime in Atlanta to beat
Yeah.
Arkansas, and the tension in the building was unbelievable. I remember I was at the Georgia Dome. I totally remember it just now. I remember I was coming up and up escalator, and Arkansas fans, all these Kentucky fans are going up, Arkansas fans coming down, and a fight breaks out, and dudes are grabbing each other and pulling each other up and down the escalators because they're trying to fight, and everybody's running away from each other. I'm telling you, I remember it like it was yesterday.
Right.
Those were nuts, those games.
Crazy. Oh, a couple more UK notes. I got to ask you about Carolina too, Jimmy, but
Oh,
Keldon Johnson made some Spurs history, y'all, because he's the third Spur in his first 60 games to have 700 points and 330 rebounds. And the only other two to do that were David Robinson and Tim Duncan, and now Keldon Johnson.
Wow. I didn't even know that. But I think I kind of follow his progression, because whenever I'm checking box scores, not to say I had forgotten about him, but he was a late draft pick, but it was rewarding for him. He went to the right organization, and the right organization had him go get experience in the G League, not as an insult or you can't play basketball, but it also gave him an opportunity to go work on his game and still play, because even though you can say you're on the NBA roster, but if you're not getting the reps, you're not getting better. But it's humbling. I think it was humbling too, just that, not to say he was feeling himself, but you were supposed to be a so-called lottery pick. That didn't happen. And then you almost didn't get drafted. So it's like, oh, well, maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was. But the right organization puts you in a position where we're gonna let you play one night, but we're gonna coach you, we're gonna develop you. So, and I know Cal gets beat up a lot about, even this year what happened. But it's hard to develop kids that have been told, have been given everything. You only got 6 to 8 months to get those kids to buy into your system, because everyone know that college basketball is, it's a system-based, I would say, not organization, but a system-based team. Like, your system is what the coaches, they recruit you to be a part of a system. So it's like it's like a franchise, like every team, every coach is a franchise. He has a franchise, and I have franchise rules that, either you do it or you don't do it. And I try to tell the young player, yes, you got to look at how do you fit in to the next place that you're going to go. I said, so you better make sure you watch and know how they offense and defense run, who's going to be there. I said, because what usually happens in mid majors, they always got to recruit the next player,
right?
That's going to fit what their schemes. And I said, if you don't understand that, I say that's where it usually hurts you, because you haven't done your homework. But going back to Keldon, it was exciting to see, he was back and playing at the level that he's playing at, and he wasn't. Because sometimes you almost have to go be humble to come back and appreciate being drafted.
One really cool thing, Vinny, is the perfect stat to bring up, because this really translates into my business and why cards are so big, and something that very much in my business, because in cards, and especially basketball cards, everybody's trying to pick the next superstar and buy them low. And when they do well, sell them high. And then you're going to have your Zions and your Jais, and they're going to be expensive, and you hope they can go up because they become superstars. But a lot of people in this business look for the Keldons. And people would always come to me and say, well, who are you buying? Who are you buying, Jimmy? And it's because of everything you just said, Tony. Last year I said, I'm buying Keldon Johnson. And I said, because I know from watching the Kentucky, from hearing from folks in Kentucky, he's got a high motor, right? He falls too late in the draft where everybody's chasing the big names at the front of the draft. And he went to the perfect organization because Pop never plays rookies, He's going to be humble, but he's got this high motor. And then when he gets his chance, he's going to have all that experience in the G League. He's killing it down there. And then somebody opts out in the bubble, and he has 4 straight games of 20 plus in the bubble, and he explodes. And all these cards that we bought at $4 or $5, some at $100, now they go for 3,000 of Keldon, 4,000, 5,000. Wow. And it was that same thing of knowing the organization, knowing the style, knowing the player.
Right.
That in this business, you're looking, if you know that, you can make a good investment. Same like the player knowing the style in college can make a good investment in themselves. And you're right, because you think about in college, it's more about the system. Like it's not, there's a little bit in the pros, but in college you think, oh, Boeheim's the zone, Nolan Richards, 40 minutes of hell, Cal's dribble drive, Patino's press full court up. And like, the school and the coach by their system.
Yeah.
That's true. You said that you lived in Carolina. You got ties to North Carolina, Jimmy, the Crosshair School in the mountains of North Carolina. Your sister's still over there. So everybody knew they were going to keep it in the family once Roy retired. And so Hubert Davis is the guy. So what's everybody think as far as that working out with him?
It's so funny. I don't understand the keep it in the family philosophy, right? And I mean, I understand it. I don't like it personally, and maybe this is the business side of me, but to me it's go get the best coach available. I don't know why you wouldn't throw money at Brad Stevens or Oates or Beard, or I mean Beard just took the Texas job, but I think it's a bit underwhelming. I mean, you saw what happened to Carolina when they kept it in the family the first time around with Guthridge and then Doherty. And Lord knows what's going to happen with Duke when K retires. What are they going to do? Like Woj? Like, he just got fired at Marquette.
Yeah.
Go get the best guy available. I like that about Kentucky. Like, they went out and got Patino. They went out and got Cal. Like, that's why
I got Gillespie. Don't forget about. Are you forgetting about Gillespie?
I'm trying to. Why you gotta talk like that? I thought we were friends.
Yeah. Hey, remember we had him for 2 years. It was like, hey, we did a trial. We did a trial run.
At least we go out of the, like, you're gonna have your botched ones like that, but at least we go, like, that's why you got 8 titles with 5 different coaches. It's
but
not
that could have been. Hey, but think
No.
about this too. Think about this too, Jimmy and Vinny. Is that could have been the one hire that they could have said we're gonna hire in the Kentucky family. They have yet to have done that though. Think about what they've done with all the coaches that they've had, other than maybe
Coach Hall.
Joby Hall, maybe. With Joby Hall, what I say?
Yeah.
He's
Tubby was on Patino's bench, right?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. But Tubby was at Georgia though when he was at Georgia when he got hired.
Right. He had already left and done Tulsa.
Yeah, but really, when you think about when we say like in the family, like everybody was bringing up like a Stackhouse, guys that have been successful. Same thing with Coach K is that, of course you can't replace a legend. I mean, that's, it was, so even when someone came behind Dean Smith, it was like, they're not Dean Smith.
No.
It wasn't gonna happen. But Roy came to me at the right time when they needed him. Like Roy needed North Carolina and North Carolina needed Roy Williams. Because Roy had done as much as he could do with Kansas. Like, Final Four, Elite Eight. He just couldn't get over the hump.
Totally.
And when he went to North Carolina, like it kind of like revived his career. It gave him some extras. It gave him energy. He was like, now I feel even more appreciated because he had done it for so long at Kansas. And people, it's kind of like with Rick Barnes. They was like, you know what? They stopped appreciating what you were doing. Getting to the NCAA tournament, we've done that. That's nothing new. Final Elite Eight, Sweet 16, we've done that. Like, okay, do something that you haven't done before.
Right.
And it's almost like you have to know when to leave. Like you sometimes you can stay too late, and it happens sometimes in a relationship too. Is like, dang, I should have got this like 10 years ago, 5 years
Well,
ago.
there could be an
Time goes
expiration
so
date.
fast. And that's kind of the same way with a job, playing somewhere. And some people just get it right away. They just know like this ain't right for me. I gotta go right now.
Right.
And it happens. It's always a risk. It's high risk, low rewards when you
Right.
take on certain situations, not really knowing.
Right.
That's true.
I just always appreciate the fact that here it's not just one iconic coach. It's not just John Wooden. It's not just Coach K.
Mm-hmm.
Here you've got Rupp, Hall, Patino, Tubby, Cal. Like, to me, that screams strength in like the program
Yes.
as a whole.
Yeah.
You're gonna find somebody that adheres to these standards
Mhm.
and is gonna push us to that. And I mean, that's, you look at it, there's not a lot of programs like that. I mean, Carolina did it with Dean and with Roy. Duke's pretty much only done it with K.
Nope.
I guess UCLA's done it with Wooden and Herrick. I don't know if you want to count.
No. Just like UCLA is all Wooden.
I agree. Like,
Even the year, it's funny too, the year they won it in 95, we played them in the first ever John Wooden Classic. It was by far my worst collegiate game. Might have been the only game that I fouled out of. So I felt like it was like this game was rigged,
Right.
And for them to have the first ever John Wooden Classic, we lose to them by 1 point. And it was on it. When I tell you a bogus, bad call, they called a foul on Walter McCarty when he totally blocked, I think it was Henderson. Blocked his shot. He goes to the foul line, makes 2 free throws, bad inbound pass. We lose the game by 1 point. And, so when they won it in 95, it left a bitter, when I tell you a bitter taste in my mouth, I'm like, because we had beaten, we had come close to them. We had beaten Arkansas that year.
Yep.
And so we was right there. It wasn't like when you get down to Elite 8, you're where you're supposed to be. And even looking at what happened last night with Gonzaga and Baylor, and I told someone this. I said, I was telling my brother, I said, Baylor has 5 really good guards, and 2 of those guards are NBA players.
Right.
Now, not to discredit what they had done all season, but I was like, they hadn't seen these guards.
No. They were on skates last night early.
Yeah, it was a problem early that they could never solve. They couldn't solve the problem. It was like, we go zone, we go man. They was dissecting them last night. But I told someone, I said, before the season, before they had the COVID issue, I said they were 17-0. So they was trending in the right direction, until that happened. That probably 3 to 4 week period where they didn't play basketball, and it was going to take them some time to get their rhythm back. But when they got it rolling, whew.
And their defense, I mean, they were up in Gonzaga.
And when Baylor would miss a shot, Gonzaga couldn't get the rebound. Baylor was getting offensive boards. So
totally right. Across it was that game was over early. You could tell this team wasn't coming back on them.
Also, you know what I think too was that Scott Drew was funny because Scott Drew went away from like he was a big zone heavy guy. I don't know if you watched Baylor years ago, and they would get to the tournament, really good team, and he was trying to rely on that zone, But finally, he had to scrap the zone. He's like, listen, I got to get guys that can play man to man, because with zone it leaves up too many holes. You give up offensive rebounding, and it only take one hot shooting game in the NCAA tournament, and it's bye-bye.
That's it.
I'm surprised that, like I said, it's funny you said Boeheim is known for the zone, but I'm like, none of your players that ever left your program could play defense.
Right.
Not one.
They're not in the league long, other than the big offensive guys. But like, where's Hakeem Warwick and those guys that they don't stay long.
Mm-hmm. That's true, man. I saw in your video where you got the one-on-one with Zion and RJ. you had the Braves hat on. You got the Braves hat on now. So we started off a little rough up in Philadelphia, but we all three Braves fans here. So, you know, I'm with you as far as the Braves. And we started the podcast talking about Hank Aaron, you know, the greatest Brave of all. So, man, and you got the old school Braves had to.
Oh yeah, always. I grew up coming home from school watching them on TBS. You know, your 3:15 game of the week. You know, every time it's either you're watching WGN with the Cubs or TBS with the Braves.
Yep.
Back when they were terrible.
Yes.
They lived in Atlanta for a little while when it was Chipper and Glavine, Smoltz, Maddox, Andrew Jones, all that. Now I can't love Acuna and Albies any more than I do. I'd probably get a restraining order at this point.
Easy.
I love
Easy,
those
Jimmy.
guys.
Easy. Easy. But definitely. All three huge Braves fans. I'm a TBS kid as well. My dad and my granddad, when I was 7, drove from Kentucky to Atlanta so they could take me to see Dale Murphy in Old Fulton County Stadium. So happy as I was then as a kid, you appreciate it way more now because you just don't realize everything they had to do. Dad getting off work, my granddad was older.
That's
take
awesome.
a little 7-year-old me down there to watch them. So now when you get up and have kids yourself, you really appreciate stuff like that. As happy as I was then, it means even more, 35 years later. So that was, one of the things you never forget.
Look at this, sitting on my office desk right here.
Hank
Aaron signed card.
Man.
Numbered 1 of 1.
Oh.
Good. No, you don't have a 1 of 1.
That's a 1 of 1.
Oh man,
this guy, man.
Aaron, autograph card sits right here on my desk at my house.
TD.
Wow.
Hey,
I don't even want to know how much that's worth, but
it's not for sale, not for trade. It says it on Twitter.
At Kentucky Cards. Tell everybody where they can find you at, Jimmy. We're at Kentucky Cards on Twitter and
at Kentucky Cards on Twitter, and on Instagram it's at Kentucky Basketball Cards on Instagram. That's a crazy one on Instagram, but at Kentucky Basketball Cards and at Kentucky Cards.
That'll work. And y'all can of course find us at Bleav in Kentucky on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and all that good stuff. And speaking of another 1 of 1, TD, that would be La Terrain. You've been with them for a long time, and they got so many great styles of watches. Got a 96 championship 25th anniversary commemorative edition watch that yourself and Walter McCarty and all your teammates are promoting. And you get that, you pre-order that, you get a copy of Cut to the Chase by Alan Cutler. So we definitely appreciate La Terrain sponsoring the podcast each and every day.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, they've done great things with Walter, myself, and so many people, and just guys that kind of like Jimmy, giving back and work with people on their brand and have a nice watch that great timepiece for the casual look, the sporty look, and just some good dudes. Some good dudes that's trying to make sure that they build a brand the right way, and they make sure their watch is on the right people. And Jimmy and I, we kind of talked about a little bit about La Terrain, what they're trying to do and give back. So it's a watch that I enjoy having, because for a while I was collecting watches. I go through these phases of collecting things. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like to swatch watches for a while. There's certain style shoes I like, and it's on to something else I'm collecting. But
hey, I got a spot where you need to come visit again then. You're collecting stuff.
Yeah. So it's funny too, because I love my Air Jordans, and I'm like, man, how much longer can I have my Jordan? Can I still be cool with my Jordan? I'm 60 years old.
Always. You never even told what shoes were you trying to get? The ones that you couldn't get.
Oh, I got which ones was it? I just got the Air Max 97 off-white. So the off-white ones are the hardest ones to get. I think they're the red, black, and white ones. Like, you don't see them. So you might have don't you go get those shoes, man.
Salt in the wound coming up. Salt in the wound.
No, I was just trying to think of which ones you was talking about.
Oh no, man, you ain't got no. Wow.
No, let me think.
Yes.
See that?
Hey,
Salt in the
Jimmy.
wound.
Hey, Jimmy, you wrong. Hey, you wrong for that, man. I'm telling you. Hey, those shoes, like you don't. You know what? Somebody, probably like 2 years ago, this guy had him on. He was, he's out of Portland, so he has a connection out there with Nike. And I was like, man, I said, dude, who are you? You know, because when you, like I said, when you're a shoe car, like there's certain things you see that really stand out. I was like, hold on now. Because, you know, it's funny when they come out for like $100, $200, then they, you know, then they skyrocket to thousands of dollars. But yeah, those were some hot ones right there.
It's just
Those got, hey, I can tell you this right here, Jimmy. Those are out of my budget.
He raising up like Jaws. Dun, dun,
he is, right? You know what I'm saying? So no. Hey, there's an amount I would spend on shoes, but then there's an amount that I'm like, no, I'm not spending on shoes. I'm like,
I got lucky. I got them early when they weren't what they are now.
No. If you got them early, probably because you got to think about there's certain, and you never know the market of shoes. Like you can pay $800-900 for a pair of shoes that you keep the box and you give it 2 or 3 years. Because I have a pair of Travis Scott 4s that I haven't worn yet, but I threw the box away.
Nice.
but I threw the box away because I was so happy. It was like one of the first time I actually went to Nike.com and they put you in line, right? They was like,
right,
they're gonna put you in line. So I've been denied like 10 to 15 times. And so I'm always waiting for it to say you did not get the shoes. I'm like, okay. And they said you got the shoes. I was like, hold on. So I was so happy I got the shoes. I threw the box away. Now I haven't even worn the shoes yet. But I'm already looking, I'm like, man, why didn't I just keep the box? But I was so in my head, I'm gonna wear these Travis Scott shoes, and I never put them on, but I don't have the box to them. So
you gotta wear them now.
I'm gonna wear them now.
You bust those out next time you come up to shop. I'll bust these out. We'll have a little fun night.
I got you, man. Yes, I got you. Yeah, put it like this. Next time I come, I will have some nice kicks on. Because listen, hey, Vinny kind of showed me up, man. He had the Travis Scott's on. Those were the low ones, or were they?
I like the lows. People either love them or hate them. I love the low ones.
I'm a big low fan. I am a big low fan. Yes, I am. So that's big time. But you know what I do? Let me see. What do I have in my collection that's really nice? Hold on just a second. I have a pair for you. Hold on. I just got them.
We started a sneaker war.
That's it. He got it. He can't go out like that.
I can't go. You know I can't go out like that, man.
You gotta come with something.
So these are ones I just copped right the other day. So
oh yeah.
So these are these are my new babies right here. So I'm looking forward to wearing them with outfit. I was supposed to be wearing them over the weekend.
Those are great.
No. When I tell you, when I look at the different styles, I love the ones and I love the fours. So those are my two go-to styles. And what I've actually started doing, they're actually pretty cool with suits.
Like the Concords? Those look good with suits.
They do, man. The Concord, the Concords are nice, man. But you know what? Of all the ones, the Concords, let me see which ones. The Space Jam.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're amazing.
Or the 72 and 10?
72 and 10s. I was always kind of partial to a couple of the 10s. Like Anthony Davis wore the royal blue ones in the title game. And then I like the 13s with the Ray Allen green 13s.
Oh, yeah. They're nice.
Record. I love those.
That's where I stop at. So I'm a 1 to 13 guy.
Yeah.
And I don't have any Jordan past 13.
I'm kind of that same level too. Same thing.
Because I want to say they're at 35 now?
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody told me 35. So, I mean, I checked out at 13.
Yeah. That's nice little teenage window, 0 to 13 window.
There you go. There you go. Cool. Yeah. I'm gonna let D wrap us up there. I know we gotta go. I'm gonna let him wrap us up.
This has been great, man. Jimmy, I had heard about the shop. I'd heard Tom Leach talk about it on this show and stuff like that. But to be able to have you on here and talk with you and all the philanthropy things that you've done, and here, North Carolina, Columbia, so many things you've done for so many people, to be able to get to know you a little bit. So cool that TD knows you, to be able to have you on with us, man. Enjoyed it a whole bunch, man. This has been great. Like you said, we definitely look forward to having you on again. And everybody go check the shop out. Jimmy's Kentucky Roadshow Shop, 369 Romney Road in Lexington. AJ Rose will be there Friday from 6 to 8 doing the signing. You guys check Jimmy out. Follow him on Twitter. A good dude right here, and we enjoyed having you on Bleav in Kentucky, man.
Y'all too kind. Thank you so much. Tony called and said, hey, we want to get you on. We've had Derek Anderson and Walter McCarty. And I was like, I don't really fit in that category. I'm just a dude with shop. But it was an honor. And I'd heard a lot of great things about you, Vinny. So I just really appreciate getting to just hang out with y'all. Because Tony and I can do it all day, all night.
Oh, we can, man. Yes, you already know.
You know it.
All right, guys.
I'm looking forward to swinging by there, getting some pizza and opening some cars myself one day, man.
Come on, man. Please, we got a seat always there for you.
Absolutely, man. But thank you again. So for Jimmy Mahan, the legend Tony Duck, this is Vinny Hardy. This has been another episode of Bleav in Kentucky, presented by Bet Online. Y'all rate, subscribe, and review the podcast. And we'll see everybody next week.